Welcome to DNW Daily News Wire. Series India's Dual Dominance of Nuclear and Oil Power. Episode 1. India is not only one nuclear power, but also one oil power. For decades, global geopolitical analysts classified India through a singular lens, a South Asian nuclear nation balancing regional dynamics. But look beneath the surface, specifically beneath the waters of the Bay of Bengal and the Andaman Sea, and a completely different strategic picture emerges. Over the past few years, two massive developments occurred simultaneously. First, substantial natural gas and oil reserves were mapped near the strategic Andaman and Nicobar Islands. Second, India quietly shifted its long-standing nuclear posture from passive deterrence to rapid response operational readiness. Why are these two developments deeply connected? Because energy reserves require maritime dominance, and maritime dominance requires an undeniable nuclear umbrella. In this first episode, we decode the deep-sea energy discovery near the Andaman and Nicobar Islands, break down how nuclear weapon systems actually function, from warheads to propulsion, and analyze Pakistan's sudden push into orbit with intelligence spy satellites. Energy discovery and nuclear policy shift. Let's start with the waters surrounding the Andaman and Nicobar Islands. Positioned near the mouth of the Malacca Strait, one of the world's most critical maritime choke points, these islands were long viewed primarily as a forward military outpost. However, extensive geological surveys and exploration efforts near the island basin revealed significant offshore deposits of oil and natural gas. For an economy importing over 85% of its crude oil requirements, securing domestic offshore reserves in the Bay of Bengal completely alters India's economic resilience. But energy independence creates a new vulnerability: target status. When a nation controls critical energy nodes near global trade routes, maritime security transitions from routine patrol work to high-stakes power projection. This energy discovery directly coincides with a calculated evolution in India's official nuclear doctrine. Historically, India's doctrine relied strictly on a no first use policy tied to a debated force posture. In simple terms, warheads were kept physically separate from their delivery missiles during peacetime to prevent accidental escalation. However, as regional threats evolved and energy assets expanded into international waters, that posture adapted. Today, strategic preparedness demands pre-configured systems ready for instantaneous deployment. India's military architecture has transitioned toward canisters, encapsulated missiles, and high-readiness forces capable of responding within minutes, ensuring that deterrence remains absolute over land, sea, and strategic sea lanes. Anatomy of deterrence: warheads, propulsion, and triad. To understand modern deterrence, we must demystify how these complex strategic weapons operate. Reports indicate that India maintains a tier of immediate response strategic warheads kept in a state of operational readiness. But what does a nuclear weapon system actually consist of? It breaks down into three core engineering layers. 1. The warhead. The warhead sits in the nose cone of the missile. It contains the nuclear physics package, typically a primary fission stage that triggers a secondary fusion reaction, creating a thermonuclear device. Surrounding this payload are re-entry shields designed to withstand temperatures exceeding thousands of degrees Celsius as the weapon re-enters the Earth's atmosphere at hypersonic speeds toward its designated target. 2. Propulsion and engine systems. A warhead is useless without a reliable delivery system. Modern strategic missiles use multi-stage propulsion engines. Liquid fuel engines offer high thrust control, but require hours of dangerous fueling before launch. Solid fuel propulsion, used in India's modern Agni series, uses a pre-packed propellant block. This allows missiles to be stored inside sealed canisters for years and launched on short notice without prior fueling. 3. Launch platforms and the nuclear triad. A launch pad is no longer just a fixed concrete slab. Fixed silos are vulnerable to preemptive strikes. Modern deterrence relies on mobility across three distinct domains, forming the nuclear triad. Land-based. Mobile transporter erector launchers, or telephone trucks, and rail mobile systems that move constantly along road and rail networks to remain hidden. Water-based. Nuclear-powered ballistic missile submarines, like the INS Arahant class. Submerged deep in the ocean, these platforms provide an undetectable, second strike capability. Air-based. Strategic strike aircraft equipped with specialized drop systems or air-launched standoff missiles. By combining sea-based energy security near Andaman with a fully operational nuclear triad across land, air, and sea, India ensures its strategic assets remain fully protected. Pakistan's spy satellites. Power dynamics never develop in a vacuum. As India consolidates its energy assets and updates its operational deterrence, neighboring adversaries adapt their intelligence-gathering capabilities. Enter Pakistan's recent launch of electro-optical space surveillance and spy satellites into low Earth orbit. Why is this space push critical? Historically, tracking mobile land launchers or maritime naval movements required terrestrial radar installations, which are limited by curvature and range. By deploying optical and synthetic aperture radar spy satellites, Pakistan aims to gain real-time imagery of Indian military movements, naval deployments in the Bay of Bengal, and forward bases near the Andaman and Nicobar chain. Synthetic aperture radar allows satellite imaging through cloud cover and during nighttime, effectively attempting to pierce the veil of stealth that mobile missile launchers and naval fleets rely on. Space has officially become the high ground for South Asian military intelligence. The geopolitical landscape of South Asia is shifting rapidly. As we've seen today, a nation's energy security and its nuclear readiness are deeply intertwined. But what happens when one nation's major energy breakthrough coincides with a neighbor's energy crisis? In Episode 2, we are going to explore a fascinating geopolitical hypothesis by looking at a very specific timeline. We will examine the exact period when India was confirming its major offshore oil and gas discoveries, and connect it to simultaneous events across the border. During that very same window, statements emerged from Pakistan's leadership regarding a severe internal oil and gas crisis, a crisis that closely aligned with an elevated nuclear and strategic alert. Was this timing just a coincidence? Or does domestic energy scarcity automatically trigger international strategic posturing? In the next episode, we will connect the dots and look at the pure facts of how oil dictates nuclear diplomacy in South Asia. Hit subscribe, leave your thoughts in the comments below, and I'll see you in Episode 2. This video presents independent commentary and hypotheses based on public data for educational and discussion purposes only. The creator is an independent researcher, not an official defense expert.